It's hard to know where to start. I'm not very good at these things. So, Mary, here you go. My testimony. I'd like to leave out all the broken parts, but if I do, then those of you that remain among the broken won't know that Christ can deliver. He can set you free, and He can bring healing to all those areas of your life that the enemy has come to steal, kill, and destroy. But anyways, I was not raised in a Christian home. However, the Lord did turn all that brokenness around, and both of my parents later on gave their hearts and lives to Christ and are today in heaven waiting on me. Those years shaped the person who I was and who I am today. And as I was thinking about making this, I thought about chapters in people's lives. And I'm so thankful that there are several chapters that God has closed for me. However, there are chapters that are still being written, and I'm grateful that I have the opportunity for the next chapter, even though those chapters may be full of pain or sorrow or change. God is still writing the story, and in the end, I know that there will be a glorious, victorious ending for this sparrow down here on this earth. I thought about the years that I found the Lord. It was hard for me to find the Lord. Oh, it wasn't so hard when I was a kid because I really didn't understand. I wasn't raised in church. However, I did go a couple times to this one church that somebody had invited me to, my cousin. And I went there, and I actually won a little beauty contest when I was about 10 years old. And I got my first compact of makeup. And then that same year, they had a vacation Bible school. And I got to go to a couple of those classes. And I remember taking a little milk carton and putting little seashells on it and painting it gold. Those are my memories. And that's all I have for church, other than this one time when I was there in this little tiny church in Sherburne, New York, called Faith Baptist Tabernacle. There were these beautiful archway windows, and I remember seeing the sun come in to those windows, and I felt compelled to go forward. And I remember going down to that altar, which was wooden, and kneeling down. I don't remember anything more than that. But that has been a moment in time forever imprinted on my memory. And I'll never forget the beauty that came in the window that day. There's other pivotal moments in my life that God has shown up before I even knew Him. I was walking down the road when we lived in North Norwich. That's the last home I lived in before my marriage. And I remember as I was walking by that the Lord, I could feel this presence overwhelm me. And for the first time in my life, I really, really felt the presence of God, not even knowing who He was. You know, you hear things, and my mother, she read her Bible sometimes, and I remember hearing about things, but never really experiencing anything until that day. And I was about 12 years old when that happened. But I remember walking down that road. I was going to go to the general store, and that was what I would normally do, is walk down to town. It was about a little over a mile, and walk back home. And God's presence came that day, and I felt His presence overwhelm me. I'll never forget that pivotal moment. And then I was the kind of girl that rode the altar rail because I never felt worthy because of the traumas in my life, and the choices that I've made were not good. But I remember when the Lord finally, I could feel the presence of His salvation in my life. And it was after church one day. We had been invited over to some friend's house, and I don't even remember who they are. Isn't that something? We were young in the Lord, and this couple invited us to come to their home, and I did. And as I sat there, I got tired and they offered me a bed to lay down in. And as I laid there in that bedroom, I felt overwhelming presence of the God that I had felt when I was a little girl. That when the sun came through that window, and that overwhelming presence that came that day that I was walking down towards the store as a young child. And I remember that moment in that bed, I could really, really for the first time feel that God had done something in my life and think something had changed. Well, the years after that weren't all that great for me because I still had a hard time being able to accept that Christ loved me. I could accept for everyone else that he loved them, but it was hard for me. This crazy hair and the wind. But anyways, don't mind that. It was hard for me to accept that Jesus Christ loved this girl, this broken young girl. I was 16 when I got married, the day after I turned 16. And I'm thankful for my husband. The story over 50 years has been that God has been faithful and he's been able and he's seen me through many things. There's been a lot of times I probably would have run out on that relationship because life was hard. It was hard for both of us. We came from different backgrounds and temperaments, and our personalities are total opposites, but Jesus Christ has always been there for us. And today, after 50 years of marriage, I love this guy more than I could ever even express. God has been faithful to us. He's given us wonderful, wonderful children and wonderful grandchildren and wonderful great-grandchildren that are still even on their way. And I'm so thankful. I just had a little great-grandbaby, number 6 born, and number 7 is due to be here within the next few weeks. And I'm so thankful. And all that was because of God. Through the brokenness, through the pain, through the sorrows, through the years of ministering out love to people when I felt like love was on the short end of things for me, I ministered through a lot of pain. I ministered through a lot of questions and feeling like God was there for everyone else and oftentimes wasn't there for me, or that he cared more for some other people. Maybe you feel that way today. Maybe you really do feel that way. Maybe your life's been tough. I got thinking about Lazarus the other day, and I was thinking about when he laid outside that rich man's gate, and he was just laying there suffering, and the rich man was looking at all the things that he had, saying, "Oh, soul, take your ease." Well, I'm sure it wasn't easy for Lazarus having a dog lick his wounds. Sounds to me like that was the only friend he had at the end of his life was a pet. And I'm telling you, pets are like family. But here he was laid out there, just beyond the gate, where a man could have made all the difference in the world, like the Good Samaritan. However, the man was so caught up in what he had and what he'd accomplished and was telling his own soul to take ease. Yet that night his life was required. Yet my thoughts on Lazarus was that Lazarus suffered his evil things, yet God suffered him to go to heaven. Said in this life Lazarus had evil and the man had good. Well, we don't always get to know what our future holds or whether we're going to have good days or bad days. We can rest assured there's going to be both. But God is with us. I want you to know that I know I'm kind of scattered, smothered, and covered today. Kind of like Waffle House. I think of how they yell out those different orders. It's quite funny, but sometimes our lives feel like they're scattered or smothered or covered. And sometimes we feel like we have no hope at all. This is a season right now where it seems like there's so much darkness and death and sorrow. And there's more than just physical death. There's all kinds of death, divorce and broken relationships, and just so many heartaches that seem to be a death sentence for us. But you know what? Jesus Christ came to bring life, and that more abundantly. And let me tell you something, despite all the pain and the sorrow and all the stuff that you might be going through, or I might have gone through in my past and may go through in the future, I know in whom I've believed, and I'm persuaded that from this moment on forward, He's able to keep that which I've committed unto Him against that day. My greatest friend and love of my life is Jesus Christ. I'm so thankful that He still pursues me. I'm so thankful that when I walk this life or in this wheelchair, that that's been part of my life for a while, many years now. I look forward to the day that I'll sit at His table. As I was in my room today, I was reassured that I have a place at the table. And you know what? If you give your life to Christ today, He will set the table for you too. I'm waiting on Him. I'm looking forward to that glorious appearing of Christ. He told us to lift up our heads, for our redemption draweth nigh. Well, I hope that you will give your heart and life to Him. He is worthy, and He's well able. He's still in the saving business. He still can make the darkness light before you, and what's wrong He can make right in your life. Our lives are to be witnesses for Him. I want to finish the end of my life a whole lot better than I ever started this journey. God bless you all, and may you have a wonderful and happy, blessed Christmas in Jesus' name.